What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Monoposto Driver Career Mode. And today we have round 3 of the 2026 season that is going to be taking place at the Chinese Grand Prix. The first time I've ever recorded a competitive race around this circuit since the new 2023 update came out on this game, and I have to say I'm actually rather looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've done a race around Shanghai, but I will of course say check out the previous episode if you missed it. That was uploaded a couple of weeks ago now, I think. Apologies for the delay between uploads in this career mode. It's not because I'm not enjoying it, it's just because I'm struggling to find time, because these videos are rather time consuming. So if you haven't seen it, look away now, because I'm going to spoil it. We dominated and took victory in Bahrain from P3 to the win, and I dare say that was arguably my best drive of this whole career mode so far, except maybe when we won from last on the grid in Hungary 2024. Anyway, today's Grand Prix, we've already seen from the opening couple of races that Aston Martin and Alpine are the teams to beat. However, we have also seen that the grid is overall exceptionally close, with all the drivers frequently being separated by less than a second between P1 and P22. So without further ado, let's see what, if anything, has changed for the Chinese Grand Prix. We've only gone and done it. Pole position for the third time in this career mode. We snatched it away from Fernando Alonso by just 11 thousandths of a second. It was very tight, but we will be fronting the grid for the first time as an Alpine driver in this season. And as we go to the race, it is full wet conditions. Other notable mentions in qualifying going to Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc for qualifying P3 and P5 respectively, massively outperforming their machinery. Stroll P4, my teammate Ocon only P6. We have an 8-9 for Audi, and Mick Schumacher completing the top 10. So both Ferraris qualifying well, but as I said, it's so close. Verstappen in the Red Bull up in P3, Yuki Tsunoda was something like P11. And also notice Piastri and Guan Yu Zhou have both got grid penalties, because somebody pointed out that they didn't make a pit stop in their last race, and I didn't realise until after I'd made the video. So I said, you know what, if that happens again this year, the driver will just receive a grid penalty and they'll be forced to start from the back of the grid. Anyway, this is going to be an exciting race. The first time in the rain in 2026, we are revving up to 5 red lights for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. Lots of wheel spin off the line though. Going up into ERS, Fernando Alonso's had a fantastic start though, and the experienced Spanish driver is going to take the inside line, and with it the race lead into the first corner. And there's not much I can do there. The tyres are really cold. I just need to try and fight the car through this weird spiral section. Notice Stroll is already up into P3, so he's managed to get himself ahead of Max Verstappen. I'm going to burn a bit more battery and try and defend against the Canadian driver, although as it turns out I'm under no pressure from behind whatsoever, so hopefully I can just try and settle down into my rhythm. I've gone a little bit deep there though, and now Stroll will get the invitation as we exit the first sector. Stroll might try and go round the outside, but that's not going to work, particularly in the wet weather conditions, and I keep my foot in and I will keep P2. As we move on now, we're just trying to settle down into a nice rhythm. You can see Stroll has dropped back behind. He's around 2 seconds, so myself and Alonso have got really good pace here this weekend. I've gone purple in sector 1, and I'm just kind of chilling behind the Spanish driver. The tyres are now up to temperature. It took a while, and I'm starting to grow in confidence with every corner that passes in these conditions. Obviously, qualifying was in the dry, so I've not had any practice at this racetrack in the wet conditions yet this weekend. We've gone for a full downforce setup. Look at that, we're barely reaching 280 Ks. I'm now really gaining in the slipstream of Alonso with no ERS usage, although I back out because I'm not going to go for a risky move like that in these conditions when there's still 12 laps to go and we are sat very comfortably in P2. Now on lap 4, Alonso has pulled away a little bit. He has got very good pace and is starting to flex the muscles a bit of that Aston Martin. Stroll is also 4 seconds behind, although looking at the minimap, my teammate Ocon is now up into P4, so he's managed to get ahead of the Red Bull and Ferrari that qualified in front of him. Don't forget, we know Max and Charles are both exceptional over 1 lap qualifying pace. They really are some of the best out there, so it's no surprise that they were able to qualify so high up. Although you may have heard the radio message that there is now less rain expected and it's time for intermediate tyres already, and that's just flown round because if you look at the track, if you look at the conditions, it still looks like it's full wet tyres, but we know how quickly the weather conditions can change in this game, and the whole grid is going to be coming into the pits. There's no need to make any amendments to the setup. We're just going straight out on a set of intermediate tyres. Ocon is also into the pits, although he'll have to double stack as we're now exiting the pits. We're still in P2, everyone will be pitting. It would be stupid to send another driver out there for an extra lap. The tyres are still really cold, but just you wait till the next radio message.
Rain will finish soon.
There you go, so we're going to be pitting again at the end of this lap by the sounds of it for dry compound tyres. I'm really wrestling the car. These inters are just stone cold. There's absolutely no grip out on the track whatsoever, and especially as the track is going to be rapidly drying out. I've spun the car. No, that's not what we needed. Stroll goes through, Ocon goes through. I'm trying to get the car spun round without crashing into anyone or getting any damage. Thankfully, we've only dropped to P4, but look at the time lost to the Aston Martins. Oh my goodness, but look, now the sun's coming out and the track is practically bone dry. We're only halfway through the lap. You've just got to be so careful. And by the end of the lap, the Inters are now about to overheat. They've gone from stone cold to on fire. They're just exceeding 100 degrees as we're braking to the pit lane. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to stack behind Ocon. But as it's lap number 6, I'm going to go onto the hards and we're going to go to the end of the Grand Prix. So thankfully, we won't need to pit again. Interestingly, both Aston Martins have gone onto a set of softs. So that is some very questionable strategy calls there. I'm going onto the hards like my teammate Ocon, so Alpine have got the right idea. We get released from the pit lane and we're behind Carlos Sainz, so we have lost a few positions due to the double stack and also due to the spin, but it's just so hard in those conditions when there's no grip on the Inters. The AI is so good, and unfortunately I just bottled it there. I was just really struggling, but now we're into the dry conditions. Don't forget, this is where I was fastest on Saturday. We're now going to try and go all the way around Carlos Sainz. No, not surely in the middle sector. The Audi driver defends there, and we're just going to have to wait and see if we can pick up some DRS. But I tell you what, he was cutting it fine there with that little brake check. I almost ran into the back of him and had to take avoiding action. Notice I'm actually getting onto the ERS really early, and we're shaping up the Spanish driver for a move here up into battery even more. DRS has now come online for the first time in the Chinese Grand Prix, and we now should be able to get this move done. And next up is Charles Leclerc, who has got himself a 5-second time penalty, so I'm not entirely sure what that's for, although if we can get past him, then we're back into P4, and then it's still Aston Martin and Alpine. The two teams that you would expect to be at the front of the grid will once again be at the front of the grid. Look at the gaining speed on Charles Leclerc, purple in sector 2. Leclerc leaves the door open, and I'm just going to send it at turn 1. Although Leclerc is on the soft tyres, I still think our car is way quicker than the Ferrari, so there's no point trying to sit behind him because we'll just lose even more time to the drivers in front. The purple sector 1, I'm absolutely pushing like a madman at the moment on lap 7 and taking a track limits warning. So at the moment you can see Fernando Alonso is clear and gone. Here's the runaway race leader at the moment. Stroll is in P2, then it's Ocon, then it's myself. So although we didn't quite qualify in the top 4 places, the race pace of our cars, the Aston Martins and the Alpines, is just so significant that we're so much quicker than everyone else as I take a second track limit warning, absolutely wringing the neck out of this car, although we crossed the line with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, more than 2 seconds quicker than Alonso on that lap, so it was worth taking 2 warnings for, and that lap has also helped me catch up to my teammate Esteban Ocon. We saw in Bahrain, I asked over the radio if I could be let by because I was confident I was the fastest of the 2 of us, and I'm finding ourselves in a similar situation here today, although I think Esteban has earned the right to be in this P3 after I bottled it myself, so I'm not going to ask the team. Don't forget, I'm still the new boy around here. Ocon is still technically the lead driver at this team. I just came in to replace Felipe Drugovich after I walked out of Mercedes, so you can see there's a lot of dirty air coming from Ocon's car. I'm trying not to get too close, although he leaves the door open now. I'm going to try and send it. Ocon there is on the inside line. I'm going to try. Don't want to fight him too hard because just ultimately we're going to lose even more time to the Aston Martins. Although now we might be able to pick up some DRS on our teammate using the ERS. This is just going to be an absolute war. Although Ocon's using some battery himself, he's not going to make it quite as easy as I would have liked. But to be fair, as I said, he's earned the right to be in that podium, and I'm now taking it away from him. So we had a bit of a blip earlier in the race, but the recovery drive has begun. We're back on the podium. We've got Stroll up next, and we have indeed caught up to him. So Stroll is actually quite slow. Alonso's 11 seconds clear, so the Canadian driver is struggling. Maybe it's the tyres, maybe he just doesn't have particularly good pace, and I'm dragging Ocon with me. Sort of. He's 2.6 behind. The DRS on Lance Stroll. The Canadian driver's using ERS, and I'm actually going to back out of that because I knew Stroll would just move to the inside there. That's a pattern I have noticed when racing the AI through the duration of this Grand Prix, so I don't want to risk losing my front wing. Although notice Alonso pits. So Aston Martin are going for a 3-stop race. Don't forget they changed onto the Inters, and now they're making 2 stops for the dry compound tyres. So I'm suspecting Stroll is going to be in as well, and Alonso's gone for the mediums. Not even another set of softs. I don't know what Aston Martin are thinking in terms of strategy today. But now Alonso is so fast, to be fair. He's just rapidly caught up and he's right behind Ocon already. Now I'm going to try and see if I can send it on Stroll. No. We're going to back out because I think Stroll is going to pit at the end of this lap and follow suit for his teammate. If we take a look over the rearview camera, Ocon and Alonso are right there. We have 4 drivers battling for victory at the Chinese Grand Prix. Stroll pits. I am now back into the race lead, and there are 3 laps remaining. Ocon won't be pitting. He is here to stay. And speaking of Ocon, he's going to go clean round the outside at turn 1, but he runs wide and then comes steering back onto the track really aggressively. And he nearly wipes me out there. We're going wheel to wheel through the spiral section. This is absolutely brilliant racing between the 2 current best teams in Formula 1. Now Alonso's having a look on his fresh mediums, and Alonso's got the position. And there's absolutely nothing I can do there, as we only watch as the French driver now leads. It's the Spaniard in second, and I've been pushed down to third just like that. Stroll has re-emerged from the pit lane on a new set of softs, although he's 12 seconds behind. Although he's in P4 and will have clean air, I don't think it's going to be enough for him to catch that much in just 3 laps, unless we keep battling like we are at the moment. Alonso takes the lead. Ocon runs wide. I'll try and stick my nose in there, although I know I've got to be sensible and try not to take out my own teammate. That wouldn't go down very well. That would be an awkward post-race press conference. As we're now heading through towards the stadium section and sector 3, I'm going to pick up DRS. I've got 45% of the battery left. Let's use it. Let's see if we can try and at least take P2 away from my teammate Ocon. Don't forget, the Australian Grand Prix was a nightmare for us, and Ocon won that day. So now as we take P2, it's just more points I can try and gain on my teammate to reel him in. Because I know on paper, so far this season, overall, I've probably been better than Ocon with pole today and dominating the Bahrain Grand Prix. So we now need to show that and get ourselves in this championship fight. Alonso's on mediums, but he's super quick. I'm just trying everything to see if I can stay with him, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Because Fernando Alonso is coming around the final corner, and for the first time since 2013, the Spanish veteran will see the checkered flag first. Fernando Alonso wins the Chinese Grand Prix in 2026, and he returns to the top step after a 13-year absence. Wow, what a day for him, for Aston Martin. And they absolutely deserve that with the car they've produced this year. They really are the team to beat. Although the strategy was questionable at times today, they've definitely had better race pace than us and fully deserved this victory.
Yes, well done. Yes, what you have done, guys. What you have done. I'm so proud of you. This is amazing. Okay, man, go to run switch cool, get the pickup.
So well done to Aston Martin on a dominant display in the end, and note how it's become more overcast in the final couple of laps. I thought it was going to start raining again at one point, but thankfully it didn't. As we are now finishing this Grand Prix, although we started from pole, we had a spin and recovered. It was a fantastic battle with the Aston Martins and Ocon for the win, but in the end, it's P2. With the fastest lap, bonus points in China. Ocon gets P3. It's our first double podium of the season, and Stroll ends up P4. So the 2 top teams in F1 right where they should be, a long way clear of the rest. Sainz comes home in P5, although he's over 15 seconds behind Lance Stroll. So although the grid's close in qualifying, the race pace of these teams is really where the true colours are shown, and that is very much apparent with Aston Martin and Alpine fighting over the win. They've definitely got the best cars. Leclerc and Verstappen getting the points for the first time this year, as does Drugovich, Pierre Gasly P9, and it's Alex Albon who secures the final point, just out-dragging Lando Norris. But that's it for the Chinese Grand Prix. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. That was a really entertaining Grand Prix, a really nice scrap for victory. I hope you did enjoy the race, and the next race will be taking place at Imola, the opening round of the European portion of the season, so hopefully that won't be too long until that's uploaded. In the meantime though, feel free to stick around for the podium celebrations and championship standings. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Goodbye.